Hey, how's it going everybody? It's your boy Meteor Kaiser here, back again with another challenge run. We're going to do another Final Fantasy game here. We're just moving on up. We're going to Final Fantasy II. This is definitely a game I am less familiar with, so you'll probably notice that as we go through this run. But I'm going to be doing a no weapon or equipment for that matter run. So every character, Firion, Guy, Maria, and then whoever our fourth party member is at the time, will have no equipment on them allowed at any time. I'm going to allow the use of items, and then possibly down the line we might have to use scrolls slash those types of items depending on the need. But I just wanted to say real quick before I do jump into it, thank you guys so much for your support in the last video. It's done really well, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in, subscribing, and all of that stuff. So thank you so much, and I really hope that these can continue. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. There's not too many rules to state. It's just going to be a very simple no weapon run. I wanted to try a no weapon run because it seemed interesting. It seemed something that would be a little bit different. And of course, this Final Fantasy game is a little bit different when it comes to leveling up. You don't necessarily level up like normal. You level up your stats and then your weapon skills. For example, let's say you level up, you're going to level up occasionally HP, and then you might level up a stat point in stamina or a stat point in strength. And that's how you're going to get stronger. You're not going to get any levels, and that's not going to really do anything for you, but you'll still get the whole guild system, and there will be shops and things that you can buy items. So very similar in that sense, but it is a weapon-based or a weapon rank-based game. I am pretty unfamiliar with this game, but anyway, that's enough of the intro. Let's just jump right into it. So the game opens up with us learning about kind of our position in the world. We are a group of rebel supporters, I guess you would say, who are from Flynn, and we're trying to protect the world from the Empire, who is basically trying to take over the whole world. And so it opens up with us kind of getting pushed back, losing one of our party members, Leon, and then waking up in the first city, Altair or Altair. I'm going to go with Altair because it sounds cooler. Anyway, we kind of get introduced to one of the main characters here that we're going to be seeing a lot, Hilda. And Hilda will introduce us to a completely unique gameplay mechanic, which is learning and asking. So basically we have keywords that we have to learn from certain characters, ask with certain other characters. I won't be going in too much into depth, but for example, she's going to teach us about the code phrase Wild Rose, and we're going to learn and ask her that, and she's going to tell us to basically go do certain things. We get introduced here, we do a little bit of basic shopping. I get my bearings just to kind of see how combat's going to be. And early off the bat, it's going to be a little bit easier than I was expecting, at least from the start. Only because unarmed is pretty strong in this game. I'm wondering if that's going to carry all the way through, because of course down the line we're going to have enemies that have physical resistances and possible other things that are going to intrude in our plot here. But anyway, enough of that. We move up north into our first little area. Stopping off here would be useful because you can gain a few items. This is of course right above Altair. It's Getria. A lot of these names are weird. There's an NPC here who will mention that we have to go to a secret bar in Flynn, and Flynn is going to be even further up north. Now it's going to be overrun by Imperial forces, and there's also enemies in the city, so be careful about that when you're going through. Do not talk to any of the Imperial forces unless you are looking for a fight, and these guys are not... You're not ready for these guys, basically, unless you've really grinded ahead of time. That could be an interesting challenge, but sounds kind of dumb, honestly. But anyway, what we have to do here is we have to go to the outskirts of the town, and we're going to talk to barkeep owner, and we're going to give him that catchphrase. He's going to open up a little area, and he's going to show us to Scott. Scott is a gentleman that will give us a ring, and dies then and there. Again, I should probably preface there's going to be some spoilers if you haven't played FF2. Yeah, so I'm basically just going to go over the whole game. So just a warning there. But anyway, we bring back the ring to Hilda, and then we talk to the person who has been standing next to Hilda for a while, Minwoo. Minwoo is going to join our party temporarily, And at that time, he's also going to give us a canoe, and that's going to help us sort of traverse these beginner areas. Again, we got the canoe very late into Final Fantasy 1, and in this game, we're going to get it super early. So not every game is the same, obviously. But again, it's going to look very similar just because of how the Pixel Remaster works. But I unequip everything from Minwu. Minwu is going to be very good as a healer, but obviously we're not using him for that purpose. He is stronger than the rest of our party, so he's going to help carry us a little bit. It's not good to rely on basically any character because your main 3 party members for this game are the top 3. So they're going to be Firion, Maria, and Guy. And then you're going to have a 4th temporary party member. It's, again, very interesting how that works. But anyway, so what we want to do with the canoe is we want to go northeast of Altair. And there'll be a little pond area. There'll be a village just beyond that, name of Plume. You can explore the city, buy stuff if you need to. Again, equipment's not going to matter for me because I can't use anything. So the only thing I would stock up on would be like potions and possibly like Phoenix Downs and stuff. But anyway, you got to pay the pirate at the front of the area and he'll let you rent the ship or whatever it is, and that'll send you to Poft. You need to go here to talk to Sid in the inn, and he's going to teach you about the airship. And then you can either A, walk to the next location, which is going to be Salamand, or you can pay the guy behind Sid and he'll give you like an air ride over there. But yeah, so Salamand is the next area, and there's some important things to do here. So the first part is you're going to need to go into the city and talk to Joseph. He's in one of the houses. You're going to ask him about Mithril and the Wild Rose. Joseph's going to tell you to go to Summit Falls, and that's going to be your first dungeon of the game. And in this first dungeon, we're going to come across a reoccurring issue with this game, honestly, I feel. There is a lot of doors that lead to nothing. I'm sure a lot of you guys that already have played this game know that, but man, is it frustrating to go into these rooms and just not have any idea what's happening. We are going to jump into our first real official boss fight here, and that's going to be against just a regular old sergeant. Now, this sergeant hits like a truck and takes out Maria within 1 turn, but we also hit like trucks in return. So in just 2 turns, this guy's done. Pretty quick and easy. Again, a lot of these fights are going to be a case of kill or be killed. Defeat the enemy before they can defeat us, basically. That's this game in a nutshell. Anyway, after defeating the sergeant, we get Mithril. We go ahead and head all the way back to Altair. Again, a lot of backtracking in the early game. It's a little annoying, but it kind of is what it is. And that's also why I was very confused. I'm like, where am I going? Where am I going? Our next location is going to be Bafsked. I think the only way to get there easily is going to be through Sid's airship. I mean, I think you can still get there normally just by walking, but life's just going to be a little bit easier if you take the airship. So in Bafsk, there's a specific soldier that you're going to want to talk to right to the west of the magic shop, and you mentioned the word Dreadnought, which you should have learned as a key term. It's going to open up an area and it's going to lead you into the Bafsk Cave. Thankfully, there's no boss in this area, just a few treasure chests for you to get. You're going to reach all the way through to the end. You're going to meet up with the Dark Knight. And basically, the Dark Knight's going to tell you, oh no, Dreadnought's complete. Dreadnought's basically a giant-ass ship that's going to go around destroying things. Also, you run into Borgin, who's general for the Empire. Very big threat, trust me, extremely big threat. Well, there's a weird graphical glitch in this game where, like, you're going to see sometime in this footage that in the bottom left area, there's going to be a little shadow, and that's just the shadow of the airship. It only goes away when you reset the game, and I didn't feel like resetting the game every time I use the airship, so I just dealt with it. But anyway, the Dreadnought's going to attack a few villages, and it's going to be like, oh no, now we've got to go deal with this giant threat. So you go back to Altair. Again, Minwu is going to leave the party. But don't worry, we're going to have another party member very, very quickly, because you're going to want to talk to Hilda and learn the Sunfire. It's a very important thing. And also about the Goddess Bell. You're going to bring that information back to Salamand, talking to Joseph. Joseph is going to join you and basically say like, hey, I have a snowmobile type thing and it's hiding in Summit Falls. So you've got to go back there. And there's like a little area kind of where that blue gem was off to the side. And there's going to be a nice little treasure chest in there for you with said item. And what you can do with that snowmobile is you're going to be able to take that right up north above Salamand. You kind of have to go around the left and go in that pathway, but that's not too bad. You're going to take that, you're going to go through the area, and now you have Joseph on your team. Joseph is a very good unit for unarmed because that's his fighting style anyway. But again, I just want to make sure I drop off all of his equipment. But this is going to lead us to our next dungeon, the Snow Cavern. There's a lot of cool little chests here, very winding area. So we go through the dungeon and we meet our first big obstacle. Meet the Adamantoise, giant ass turtle. This guy has physical immunities, or he's just really strong against physical attacks. My attacks were doing anywhere from like 70 to 100 on average before, and now I'm doing anywhere from 0 to 40 max, 60 max, and this guy has 450 HP. Also, he hits back like a truck. Each attack does between like 80 and like 160 damage. So I wipe, and it's my first full proper wipe and my first obstacle. So my best option here is to just grind. When in doubt, grind a little. I don't want to go crazy on it, obviously, because I want enough room for this game to still be challenging, but just enough to get by. So I try and get my weapon rank up a little bit more, trying to bring it from 3 upwards, and I also decide to use some potions in this fight. I'm gonna use the items when I need to. I don't think I should spam stuff, like definitely not Phoenix Down spams and things like that, but the odd potion here and there won't kill me. Potions do 100 in this game instead of 50 like in FF1. High potions are even better, they do 500. So after a little bit of just stat grinding, nothing too crazy, I head back in, try again, and I beat the Adamantoise. And we get the Goddess Bell. Now on the way out, we're going to meet Borgin again. Borgin is technically a boss, I guess. Yeah, he's weak, like really weak, like dies in a turn weak. But Borgin isn't going to take it sitting down. He booby-trapped the cave, and to get us out, Joseph sacrifices himself. Very short-lived run with our boy Joseph. I wish we had him a little longer. We Indiana Jones and he protected us so that we could go on with our adventure. Tragic. But after that tragedy, the next location we're going to want to go to is back to Puft. We're going to take that airship and we're going to go to Kashwan Keep. Kashwan Keep is going to be where we need to use the Goddess Bell in order to get into. And we're going to meet up with Gordon. Gordon is another member of the royal family from Flynn, I think, something like that. I wasn't paying that much attention, to be honest. I know he's Scott's brother, so that was the guy that died at the beginning. Yeah, that guy. He specializes in spears, and he is really bad with everything else. So, not going to be very useful, but we're still going to try and use him, whether it's as bait, as a side unit, whatever. We still have him, so we're going to use him. Anyway, we head through this dungeon, real quick, easy. Very simple boss fight here as well, the Red Soul. Couple of turns, few punches, nothing crazy. And we get the Sunfire in here. And what we're going to do is taking that Sunfire, and we're going to make our way to the Dreadnought. The Dreadnought is pretty confusing to get to, but it's basically on the bottom right of the map. This is also where I think the challenge kind of amps up a little. We have a lot more fights with a lot more enemies. Treasure chests have a lot more enemies in them booby-trapped. So it's just good to take every battle carefully, make sure that you're either saving or auto-saving or whatever. That's why I love the Pixel Remaster, because even if I die, at worst I'm resetting to the same room. And trust me, I'm gonna die a lot, because my party is physically strong, but flimsy as hell. There's a good amount of chests here. Can't come back to this dungeon, so grab what you can. There's no boss in here either, so that's nice. But yeah, you're basically gonna blow up the ship. That's pretty cool. And then you head back to Altair. You talk to the king, and the king, dies. Because it doesn't everyone die in this run. After this, you're gonna want to go back to Plume. And there'll be a different looking NPC at the beginning, and that is Layla. She's gonna give you a ride to your next location. But during that ride, she tries to rob you. What a shocker. So all you gotta do is beat her group of pirates. They're really not that bad. 8 guys with like less than 100 HP each. Should be very simple. But after that, she, kind of accepts defeat, and she joins your squad, and you now have a boat. So you can travel across the continent doing stuff, whatever you need to. But our next location is going to be that island in the top right of the map. It's going to be Castle Deist. I'm going to go through there, learn about some things about wyverns and stuff, and dragoons. And then you're going to go into that cave in there. There is a pendant that you're looking for. It's just a shiny object that's going to allow you to talk to the wyvern. You're going to take that back to the wyvern, and then you're going to be like, hey, can you take my egg into the water from the spring? So you got to take the egg, go back into that same cave, and go through the dungeon like normal. Again, just walking through there. And we come across a boss fight that is not easy. we have chimeras. It's a group of 4 chimeras. They're not necessarily scary enemies by themselves, but the fact that it's 4 of them, they do party-wide AoE, which is the worst thing for us because party-wide AoE is doing like at least 100 per unit, and an individual like 400 damage. Some of my units don't even have 400 HP. So you know what time it is, right? Yeah, we're gonna grind for a little bit here because this is actually really bad. I go back to a port and then I just go into the water because the water has good enemies, and then I go back through that cave, trying my best to defeat these guys quickly. They don't have a terrible amount of HP, so on my second attempt I die again, and then my third attempt I just decide, hey, I'm just gonna keep trying this. My HP totals almost doubled. That's how much I grinded, or had to grind. It was pretty bad. But on my third attempt I make it through and I'm like, oh, thank God that fight's over. Jeez, that was a pain in the butt. And we are done with that. So after you beat the dungeon, you get through that, you're gonna want to head back to Altair, and you're gonna be losing Layla, so get rid of her equipment for now. Not losing her, but like not using her. There's a room that you probably haven't gone into. I think that's her private quarters. You're gonna want to talk to Hilda. So Hilda, or at least this version of Hilda, yeah, is trying to smash Firion. Like, not ironically, like everyone else leaves the room, be like, we'll give you privacy, which is, yeah. So you think you're about to get lucky, but then it turns out it's a boss. So the Lamia Queen, thankfully, very, very easy fight, but I don't like getting debated like that. A lot of HP though, over 1,000 at this point. But Firion hits like a truck, doing way more damage than anyone else. He is definitely going to be our MVP because of just how strong and how many hits he's getting for each attack. Like, again, it's similar with the first game. The amount of hits means more damage. And he's getting like 6, 5, 6. I mean, I guess it helps that his weapon rank is a little higher. But anyway, so we beat the Lamia Queen. And then we were basically told we want to go to this Colosseum. And this Colosseum is going to be north of where the Dreadnought was. And it's basically a trap. So we go in there, we see the Emperor, and he's like, hey, we're going to sick a beast on you, you know? So we have to fight the Behemoth. The Behemoth is a very scary enemy, but not for our run, honestly. Because he just does a lot of single target attacks. And honestly, our best fights are against enemies that just do single target attacks. So he does like 300-400 attack to each unit, whatever. He isn't exactly that sturdy. So with a few good hits and a few turns with everyone just wailing on him, we take him down. And I forgot to mention that we do have Gordon now. So Gordon's here again. Layla got switched out for Gordon, basically. Because the true objective is here. Now we're trying to rescue the actual princess, not the fake one. We're able to rescue her in this Colosseum area. We get out. We go back home. And next is the march on the capital. We're going to take back Flynn. I thought this was going to be like a really epic moment because all of these guys are fighting. You know, we have all of our units versus all of theirs. And then it just turns out that this is just go up a few stairs and defeat a really, really easy boss. We have Gotos. Gotos is not very difficult. He has 2k HP, which is a lot more than anyone else at this point, but really, really easy fight. Oh yeah, I probably should have mentioned we have Layla again. You're just gonna see Layla, you're gonna see Gordon. They just rotate, basically. Okay, now that we're starting to get bigger groups of enemies, I'm gonna introduce you guys to a couple of other statuses that are gonna be annoying. We have Curse, which halves the damage and defense of your units, and then if they use Death on you, it's probably gonna kill you. Death is an insta-kill, as it makes sense. You got things like Petrification from the first game, but Confuse is gonna be a main enemy of us, and that's not going to be too permanent right now, but I will bring up Confuse later because Confuse is scary. Alright, now we are kind of spreading out in the map a little bit. So after we've retaked the castle properly, we're going to learn some more passwords, and we're going to have to go find ourselves a black mask because we get the white mask from the underground sewers area of Castle Flynn, which also contains nothing crazy, no bosses or anything, just it's an area with a lot of items. So after obtaining the white mask from underground, we're going to take that white mask and we're going to head to the city of Mysidia, which is on the lower left side of the map. This is basically an area with a lot of mage stuff, a lot of magic stuff. It's going to be kind of useful for later. Don't forget this location. Anyway, there's like an underground area that we have to go into. No enemies here. All we have to do is put that white mask on a statue and it's going to unlock something for us somewhere. We're not entirely sure. It's basically gonna be like, hey, next location that we're gonna head to is the Tropical Cavern. This tropical area is, again, Pretty simple, not very difficult at all. Just a lot of enemies here. It's a very winding area. It's a cool little dungeon. It's got a nice name, Tropical Island. Nothing too much to note of here. Just grab your items and then make your way towards the end where the bighorn is located, 4 of them. Pretty strong boss, but nothing I can't handle. Everyone else does die, but Maria does survive. Barely, and we're able to get ourselves the black mask. Also to note, in this area there is like a secret little area where there's items. It's like a black market shop, essentially. We go in there, but like don't need to, essentially, because there's nothing for us in this area. But after getting this, we're basically gonna have a very interesting experience. Next, we're going to head to the Mysidian Cave, which is right next to Mysidia, where we were at before. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to use the black mask on the... There's like a Firian doppelganger in this dungeon. It's very similar to the Tropical Island one. A lot of items, a lot of enemies, but it takes you like 5 minutes to get through here, so nothing crazy. Anyway, we use that mask on the Firian doppelganger. That takes him out of commission. And we are able to get the crystal rod, and the crystal rod is going to be very useful in our next area. But on our way to our next area, which is going to be the Mysidian Tower, which is just to the north, we get cucked in a very funny way. So we're going up there and a whirlpool starts. Yeah, we get swallowed whole by a Leviathan. Actually, the next dungeon of this game is inside the Leviathan's stomach. As we are going through here, we no longer have Layla in the party for right now, but instead we meet up with Ricard, a Dragoon. Very useful Dragoon, but he's going to be kind of not as useful as a unarmored guy. His HP is like half of what we have right now, but nothing I can't fix if I need to. Unfortunately, I don't think there's like a healing area, so I have to be very mindful with my HP. Thankfully, I do have a lot of potions, so that works in our benefit. Anyway, we go up to the next area. There's only a few enemies in this area, nothing too big. They have that weird lava tile looking thing from the first game, but this one's just stomach acid, I think. Right as we are about to take the ship that's inside of his stomach out, we run across probably one of the hardest fights in the game for me. We run across the roundworm. Oh my lord. This guy. So we do our normal like 200 to 300 damage, 100 on some hits. And yeah, he hits for over 1,000. So I'm like, oh god, yeah, there's no way I'm anywhere close to being able to take this guy on. So what do we do but grind? Yippee. So I do a fair amount of leveling here. It is not fun, but I'm able to get my HP up by like 500 each-ish. And then I'm able to take on the boss. He still hits like a truck, but Guy is able to survive one attack. Ricard is able to survive one attack somehow. And Firion has a lot more HP. Basically what it boils down to is a Firion solo run. And as I think things are about to be bleak, I take him out and I'm like, oh thank god, I don't have to grind anymore. So we get out of the stomach and we move up to our next dungeon. Oh my god, I hate this place. The Mysidia Tower. Mysidia Tower has like 8 floors and 3 bosses. So we're going to start running into Flan enemies, similar to the first game. We can't do anything to these guys, so I just have to flee. And we're going to be running into a total of, as I said, 3 bosses. First is the Fire Gigas. They are all resistant to physical attacks, but this one wasn't too bad. I think this is definitely the easiest one of the 3. They have a few options. They have boulders, 9, which does like 300 damage, or they can smack you in the face and kill you instantly, basically, or they can use AoE attacks. Honestly, the best thing that you want them to use is like Blizzard or Thunder or whatever, because the next one we have is the Ice Gigas. The Ice Gigas, as I said, if he attacks you directly, he'll do like 1,000 damage at least. And the Ice Gigas, we do a lot less damage to him than he does to us. For example, Maria's attack do like 30 damage. Firion's attack does like 50 damage. The Fire Gigas was easy. This Ice Gigas is not going to be quite as easy. So we'd wipe out. And you know what time it is. It's grinding time, baby. But this one wasn't too bad. I just grind for a little bit. Just do a few more attempts. Firion dies. Ricard is almost dead, but Maria and Guy hang on long enough to be able to defeat this 2,000 HP beast. And then we continue up the floors. And I'm sighing for a certain reason. I'm getting PTSD just looking at this fight. We had a match against the Thunder Gigas. Oh my Lanta, Georgia. This guy was a champion of pain. So similar to the other ones, this guy can do Boulder, he can attack you normally, or he can do an AoE or single target thunder attack. Boulders is the best bet because it only does 400 damage, where your parties, my party at least, had around 1000 HP. My punches do between like 0 sometimes, which is not fun, but upwards of 0 to like 80 or 100, right? So nothing crazy. Thunder Gigas has a HP total of 2,500, so mathematically we're going to need at least like 10 turns to beat him, probably. And we're not going to last that long. It's probably the most grinding I've done so far. Oh my god. This one took me an uncomfortable amount of time to beat, like about 40 minutes. So you saw my HP totals from the first part. Yeah, just look at my HP totals now. And when I say I clutched this by the skin of my teeth, I really did. Guy and Ricard are dead. Furion takes a hit. Maria's the only one alive. Maria goes for one more attack. Does 78 damage and he goes down. I have 265 HP left. I am so happy that this fight is over. Oh my lord, that was so stressful. I spent way more time grinding here than I think I should have, but I didn't have a choice. When that's all said and done, we make our way to the top of the tower, and Minwoo decides, hey, he wants to sacrifice himself in order to unlock some sort of spell or something. He beams the door with the crystal rod. Not entirely sure why he offed himself, but yeah. We gained some stat upgrades from these little orbs, about 10 apiece on strength, speed, all of them, which is great. But yeah, we leave the tower. Thank God. Jesus, that was awful. And we have to go back to... well, first I check Altair, and then I'm like, oh wow, Altair is gone. I was like, when did that happen? When did it get destroyed? So I just sat there for a second. I'm like, wait a minute. But then I'm like, okay, I guess we're going to Flynn instead. So we make our way up to Flynn, and we talk to Hilda again. Hilda is going to talk to us, going to teach us about the cyclone, which just so happens to be outside. Now, there's a certain little mirror area, I guess, in the castle. And we look at the mirror, it shows us the wyvern egg from earlier, and hey, the wyvern hatches. Cool, we have a wyvern now. So the wyvern is going to help us get into the cyclone. And this is a very straightforward dungeon. It kind of reminds me of the tower from Silver and Gold. Olivine Tower, I think. But yeah, there's a lot of fights here. Nothing too terrible, though. Again, I should be like pretty overleveled at this point, you'd think. Just because of how much I had to overlevel myself to beat that Gigas. We make our way, grabbing items as we need to. Again, I've been very picky about items because I don't really need things, and I don't really want to go into these treasure chests because I know some of them are booby-trapped. So I've been avoiding some of them, basically. Is the long and the short of that. But we make our way to the apex of the cyclone, and we run into the Emperor. Oh man, this is fun. Basically how this fight works is he has some royal guards with him, so you have to defeat 2 in a battle, then you have to defeat 3 in a battle, and then you can actually fight against him with his 2 more royal guards and then 1 wood golem. The Emperor himself isn't too bad. He only has 1300 HP, and the other enemies are just normal enemies. However, all 4 of them together makes my life miserable, especially considering what the Emperor can do. The Emperor has the access to use slow, and we know from the first game how that went. And it's not slow, it's the party-wide version. So if he hits me with that at all, that's it, game's over. I don't do 0 damage, but I don't do enough to be able to beat any of the enemies in a reasonable amount of time. Just, again, none of these enemies are really that bad, but altogether, it's just a lot of things attacking you at once. And so I have to do, yippee, once again, a little bit more grinding. I fight this like multiple times. I try and defeat the Emperor first and then deal with his lackeys, but that actually worked worse for me because I was like, I'm going to try and get rid of his slow ability. However, I was just like, alright, I'm going to defeat the lackeys first because that wood golem hits like a truck. He does like 900 damage per hit. The royal guards do like 600. I buff up my HP a little bit. Furion is now almost at 5000 HP. Maria and Guy aren't doing too bad either. But I basically just have to get luckier. I have to hope he doesn't use slow and hope that he like heals himself and does like whatever. Because like I need to focus entirely on him by himself. And so I defeat all of these other guys with all of my units alive, which is great. And now that the Emperor is by himself without any of his lackeys, he is a joke to deal with. Within a few turns, he is done. Very, very, very frustrating fight, but not frustrating like how the Thunder Gigas was for us. Alright, after getting through Cyclone, we make our way to our third to last area of the game, I guess. The Palmacia Castle. That's the Emperor's castle, but the Emperor is no longer there as he's been defeated. We think the game's over because we have this little dancing scene. And then we're like, oh no, this castle. Oh no, it's come up. Oh, there's some tremoring. What's happened? Oh. But at least there's no boss fight here. So it's just a castle with some enemies, some treasure chests, nothing crazy. Just go through. You're going to go up to the Dark Knight and you're going to think that you're going to fight him, but you're not. What happens is you go up to him. You're like, oh, we're going to fight for my honor, blah, blah, blah. And then the Emperor's like, hey, yeah, I didn't die. I'm actually like Satan. So that's pretty cool. And then Ricard's like, hey, I'm going to sacrifice myself because that's what we like to do in this game. We like to sacrifice ourselves. So that's cool. He dies again. So now it's, what, 3 dead people. And it turns out that the Dark Knight is our 4th party member, our true party member, Leon. Wow, who would have thought? But now Leon still doesn't have his memories back. He's still like, oh god, what do we do? Yeah, but he joins up with us. The problem is he's like severely underleveled. Well, I say underleveled, understated. Firin has 5,000 HP, Leon has 1,000, for example. But the last 2 locations of the game are going to be the Jade Passage. So this is an area sort of to the south. It's like a wellspring area, and what we have to do is we have to go through this dungeon, and it's going to teleport us to the last area of the game, Pandemonium. So I make my way through the Jade Passage. It's not anything crazy here. There's a few cool enemies here, but no real bosses. There's a blue dragon. That's pretty cool. But yeah, again, a lot of the stuff in this area is pretty easy. But we make our way to Pandemonium, and I try to fight one enemy in Pandemonium, Royal Knights or something. Royal Guard, I think, or Black Knight, Black Guard, something like that. And yeah, they do like 5,000 damage each. Yeah, you know what the name of the game is. I do a little bit more grinding. My main reason is I want to get Leon up to snuff, make him kind of useful, and then after kind of doing that, after getting my squad up another like 3k HP each, I decide to just try and make my way through Pandemonium. Pandemonium has a lot of teleport areas, a lot of hidden doors. Again, none of these dungeons are hard to get through, especially if you turn encounters off. That's where the money's at. But there's going to be a lot of enemies here. I kind of do this out of order, but there are monsters in a box that we've seen all throughout this game, but these ones are a little bit more special. First up, we have Tiamat. The first one I fight. Tiamat is a... Now, all of these monsters in the box are going to give you access to the Genji set of armor. Very, very good endgame set of armor. Again, it doesn't matter for our run, though. I just want to defeat these guys because they're, like, optional bosses. But Tiamat is pretty easy, all things considered. He has a lot of physical resistance, which makes it take forever to beat him with his 5,000 HP. But his attacks only do, like, a couple hundred damage each. So, and consider my HP, like my lowest member HP is Leon with 4,300. That shouldn't be a problem, really, at all. At this point, I'm like, you know what? Let's just go through the game. I don't really care about the other optional fights. I'm literally just going to go through this and I'm going to do this. We go take on the Emperor. We make our way through the end. We take on the Emperor and it is a wash. Like, this is bad. Like, we got completely annihilated. Alright, so let me just go over the Emperor real quick. So he's got 15k HP, and my attacks are doing a very small amount. Again, max I'm hitting is like 200-300 right now. Not only that, whenever he normal attacks you, he drains all of your or over half of your HP back. Let's say he does 4,000 damage to you from a physical hit, which he will, or possibly up to 8,000. Like, he's really strong. He will absorb all of that back as health. So all of that progress you made, it's null. Yeah, the first attempt was a wash. Definitely going to need to do some training. I do a little bit of grinding. Again, I try another fight. I try all sorts of tactics, but nothing works. I decide, I'm like, hey, I'm going to grind a little bit more, and then I'm going to fight against some of these optional bosses. And one of these optional bosses is going to be very important to us. That is Astaroth. The reason I say that is because the strategy that you're going to need to use on the Emperor, or I'm going to need to use on the Emperor specifically, is going to be mirrored in this fight, because he has the same HP draining skills. So he's got 7,000 HP, scarier than Tiamat, and he has a lot of physical resistance, just like everyone else basically at this point. What you want to do for this fight is you want to keep your HP as low as humanly possible, because the less he has to absorb, the less damage she's going to get back as healing. So when a unit goes down, Phoenix down them, basically, is what I had to do. I'm just going to keep Phoenix downing. I have a designated Phoenix downer. Well, actually, no, I don't right now. I don't have a designated Phoenix Downer. It's just whoever happens to be there. Everyone else is just going to wail on him, and we're just going to keep doing this until I lose my sanity and eventually beat this guy. Man, does it take a while, but I do it. The next one, Beelzebub. Actually, these are going to be kind of out of order because I lost to Astaroth at the first, but then I went back and I defeated him after. So don't worry about the numbers. They'll be a little off. But Beelzebub is a lot easier because he has no HP draining tactics. His methods are confusing and curse. Confusion is a very annoying skill because, again, if I get confused, I will attack myself or a party member for the max amount. And again, we don't have defense. So let's say Firion hits Guy. It'll do like 4k, which is really bad. So I can't have them be confused for too long. But again, Beelzebub is pretty easy. Same thing with the other boss, Zombie Borgren. 2,500 HP. Like Borgren before, kind of a joke. Very simple fight. But yeah, that Astaroth fight took me forever, and it was a pain in the butt. And I'm like, you know what? I've got this strategy down. I'm going to use that same strategy on the boss, the Emperor, keeping my HP total low, and letting him just kind of work on me. What I also did was I went to a certain village from before, Mycedia, and I bought up a bunch of spells. Now these spells you can use in battle as needed. So I bought haste, I bought protection, I bought all of this stuff. So the main important ones for this are going to be haste and berserk, because I need that damage dealing, and I'm not so worried about my HP total. Blink is kind of nice as well, just to try and avoid some hits. But yeah, I know I wipe again. Once again, back to the chopping block. I swear I grinded for like hours doing this fight. Yeah, I got my entire squad up 9999 HP, max HP. My problem was, weapon ranks go up to 16 in this game. I could not get past weapon rank 12 or 13. I don't know why, I just couldn't. It was weird. Going into this fight with all of this extra grinding that I did, finally able to get to this point, my new strat wasn't constantly worrying about HP totals. I was just going to let that occur naturally. I wasn't going to try and artificially lower my HP. I would buff up my units as much as humanly possible, making sure that my main attacker, Firion, who seems to have a higher weapon rank, is the main focus here. So he's going to make sure that we get haste on him and that we get berserk on him. Maria is also very scary. Guy, less so. Guy's actually been pretty weak this whole run, which is kind of ironic because I thought he was going to be the scariest. And then Leon is kind of decent, but not as good as Maria. So my strat for this, nothing crazy really. It's just somebody dies, res them. Keep HP totals as low as you can, as low as Phoenix Downs will let you. When you res somebody, re-stack them with boosts. Hope and pray that he goes for Starfall or Flare, things that have AoE damage but won't regain his HP. The scariest attack is when he regains his HP. He also has access to Slowra, which will slow down one individual unit, and when that unit is basically slowed, he's out of the game. So, for example, if Firion gets slowed, he's going to become my heal bot. And my attacks are doing anywhere from 2 to 500-ish, and I just play the long game. I just have to keep on keeping on. Don't give up, just keep attacking. When I get a status inflictment, I heal it. I use my items like candy, and after enough stress, oh my god, I do it. I beat the Emperor, and we have beaten Final Fantasy II without using any equipment or any weapons. There's some things that would have made that fight really easy, like the Ancient Sword or the Blood Sword. Obviously, don't have access to those. So that fight was just dreadful because of those reasons. This was a very fun run though. Very easy in the beginning, I will admit. But again, towards the end, once we hit that big wall of the Thunder Gigas, things just turned on its head. Everything was harder. I felt like every fight I had to grind for, it was a struggle. But it definitely felt more rewarding towards the end. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of the support once again, and I will see you guys in the next video. But until then, as always, peace!